So if you guys have any questions or you really like this tutorial, please like, comment your questions, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Love you always. Bye. I like this concealer. I've been using this concealer for 10 years. I really like it. It definitely gets the job done. So I'm just gonna color correct where I have dark areas. I burned my under eyes a few years ago, so I have a darkness under my eyes. I have discoloration on my chin area and on my forehead area. I don't want to do too much color correcting because do not go straight into blending. Do not always allow your products to sit on the skin for at least 1 to 2 minutes before you go on to the next step, just to allow the products to do what they're supposed to do on the skin. So this is the Morphe N173 brush. I use this brush to blend out my concealer. So I just dab it. I do not smear my makeup at all. When you're putting on creams, there's no need to be smearing it because you're wanting it to go into the pores. You're wanting it to sit on the skin and to get into the wrinkles, into the pores, into everything. So you don't want to be dragging it across the face. You just want to be dabbing. The goal right now is to make all the skin one color. So whether you have discoloration that is darker, discoloration that is red, discoloration that is orange, pinker, whatever your discoloration is, learn about the color for color correcting that works best for you, and then use that as your color corrector. Normally for darker skinned women who have issues with darkness, it is orange or red or orange. So now that concealer is all blended in, I just make sure that I just look in the mirror and I make sure that I don't see any areas that's like super like, oh shoot, there's makeup there. You know what I mean? I always want it to look like if I turn my head in any way, the makeup looks the same. So next, we are gonna go in with the concealer that is closest to my skin tone. And that concealer that I'm using today is the Fenty Beauty in the shade 445N. I always get neutral concealers and foundations. This one I use to brighten my face and to even it out. So I'm gonna put it here on my cheekbones area, on my forehead, and on my chin. I'm not doing too heavy makeup today. I'm not like beating my face down with like whole bunch of makeup today. I don't really typically do that unless I'm like going to like out, you know, like out. But for an event like today, oh sorry guys, this is the Morphe N439 brush, and I use this brush to blend out my concealer or my foundation, whatever I'm using as the base. Today I am using the Fenty concealer as my base. So I'm just gonna blend that down my face into my neck. And like I said, you're supposed to allow your concealers to sit for a couple minutes. You do get the best results that way. I'm just not doing that today because I am in a rush. Far in the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. And like I said, I do not drag any cream, liquid products on my face. I do not drag them. I always dab them in. Always. Like if you see like a little area like that you want to like just add more, I just put it and kind of like twirl. You know, I'm gonna use this as my base. So I'm putting this all over my face. If you weren't using this as a base, then you don't have to blend it in as widespread as I am, but it's my base right now. Giving a very glowy look, but honestly, I don't necessarily like that when it comes to my makeup. So I'm gonna add a lot of powders and stuff to matte it out. But if you don't want a matte look, just use less powder. Don't bake, and you can still have like that glowy look. and highlighter and play it up. But today I'm going for a matte look. Alright y'all, so next we're gonna go into blending the concealers. So what I'm gonna do is take this plate and put some IT Cosmetic concealer by my under eye onto the plate. Not a lot because this product is expensive, and it's expensive because it works. So just like a pea-sized amount, and that is enough for it. That is too much, honestly, but that's how much I put on there. And then we're gonna use the Fenty concealer that I use for my base, and we're going to put that on the plate as well. Just a little bit, because obviously we have a lot on our face already. So I'm gonna take my concealer makeup brush, and literally slowly dab those two together. And you see that I mixed them a little bit. I didn't mix them all the way. So as that one sits on the plate and oxidizes, we are gonna go into the contour. I often switch between different contours, but today I'm gonna use the Milani Cheek Kiss Cream Bronzer in the shade Mocha Moment. And okay, so we're just going to take a Eco Sanctuary brush. This is the Ingold contour brush. I got this in a set from Roche for sure. And I'm going to start by looking at my face and deciding how do I want my face to look today. I feel like that's the most important part of contouring, because right now we just wiped our face clean. So like all of our natural features, we just gave ourselves a blank canvas with that base we just put on, and now we're going to add depth back into the face with this brush. So we're gonna start by, I want a high cheekbones look, so we're gonna start by contouring all the way up next to the eye and dabbing that into a circle cusp, and I can feel my jawbone, my cheekbone, I'm sorry, and I'm going to dab it on and under that. Not too much. We're not gonna go into the cheek area. We're gonna stay in the cheekbone area. For my local products, I do not so like every time I see somebody swiping their face, I want to freaking stop and do their makeup for them. Like, and then this is an amazing tip that I learned. So if you look at the side of your face, it is a 3. That's how we do our contour, right? So we're gonna go from the middle of the forehead and do a 3. Cheekbones, go back out, jawline. Okay? So now we're gonna do the jawline. And what I like to do on my jawline is I like to go under the neck. After we got that, blend it out to the most part. I can make sure that we don't have any harsh lines. So right here, I'm not really too worried about it because I still have to put on my under eye concealer. But here, I'm trying to make sure that it is smooth. Here, smooth. Okay, so next thing we're gonna do is take our concealer brush again, take up our plate, and then we're just going to kind of spruce it into the color. So see, I got a little color cocktail, and I'm going to lift my under eyes, okay? So we're gonna start by putting it here and on the corners of our eye in an upward shape. So we're always gonna angle our makeup up to pull our face up and back. So there, there, and then we're gonna go to the under eye. We're just gonna do like a little C cup on the other eyes, and then one dab right there in the center, one dab right there in the center. I don't really put on like a thick layer of makeup everywhere. I noticed that if you do thin makeup or thick makeup in a few places and thin makeup in other places, it really makes the whole look come together. So I don't really put much makeup on my cheeks, but I'm gonna put a little bit here and a little bit here because I'm going to blend that out and to make my jawline more snatched. So we're gonna start by blending this in, and to blend this in, so I started something new, y'all, and I don't know if everybody gonna do this, but normally we do contour on the sides of the nose and highlight down the middle, but lately I've been doing highlighter all over my nose. I've been highlighting my nose a lot, so I've been highlighting my whole nose, and I'm gonna blend this concealer in to the nose. I blend it all the way down to my smile lines. So I definitely blend the concealer into my smile lines, and then I'll blend it up. And then I just keep dabbing up, and I just skip the 3. I just don't go back into there with this concealer. I just keep my concealer in this area and beat it down. So I'm gonna blend this more in this area, and I'm gonna come back on. So what I've done is I've taken my concealer brush, which I like to use for blending and concealer only, because it can get into every crevice on my face, in my nose, in my cheek pockets, every crevice in my face, and that's why I like to use this brush. But this brush does not give me the overall cohesiveness that this brush gives me. So what I do is I take this brush and I blend the concealer, both of the concealers, the highlight and the concealer, well, the highlight and the contour concealers, and then I take this brush and then I blend them together so it looks like not, oh, I have this makeup here, this makeup here. I'm gonna make it now look like I have on a face of makeup. So when I take this brush and just keep dabbing my dark concealer and go like this. See, we're gonna stay in the light concealer, blend it, and a touch into the dark concealer. And then the same thing on this side. We're gonna stay in the light concealer and then go a touch into dark concealer. As you can see right there, oh, I kind of blended it, but as you can kind of see right there, I went up too far with the light concealer and it made the dark concealer look like a little bit less good. But this is makeup, so you can always fix it. Gonna blend. And I don't know if you guys can see, like, it literally starts, once you put this brush on it, it changes the game. The base in the application, because it's not about the products, because today I'm using high-end and low-end products mixed together. It's not about the products, it's about how you apply the makeup. I've literally probably spent like 20 minutes blending my makeup. So I always crease up and get oily and congestion when I put on my makeup, just from dabbing and patting my face. So always be sure to keep some Kleenex nearby while you're doing your makeup. Have a blended together base that is to my liking. I'm going to go back in a little bit with, actually never mind. I'm going to go now into powders. So the way I powder my face is very important. I use 3 different powders. I use 3 different powders almost every time I do my makeup. So this powder is a pink Morphe. This is the brightening pink Morphe concealer. This is the Maybelline Fit Me. Obviously it's well loved. This is the Maybelline Fit Me concealer in the shade 360. And this is the Laura Mercier powder in the shade medium deep. So what we're gonna do is start off by taking a flat brush. This is another one of the Eco Sanctuary set that I got. And we're gonna take a flat brush and we are going to bake. Like I said, I'm going for a matte look today. If you are going for a non-matte look, I would recommend to not bake or to bake differently. So it's easy. So let me just show how to do it if you guys are going for a non-matte look. So start with your under eyes, because I feel like that's the first to crease, and the first thing that people look at is your eyes. So I always start with my under eyes. I tap the brush into the Laura Mercier powder, tap, 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 and then I tap, tap, tap. And then I'm just going to tap it into my skin. I'm not going to rub it because I do rub powders. Don't get me wrong, I do rub powders into my face. But I do not rub the first powder I put on my face because that is sitting directly on top of the concealers. So right now we are setting our concealers and our liquid products into place with this powder. So we're going to start by putting it under eyes and blend, 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 blend. On the under eyes. Not going into the contour areas. And you don't really need too much. But if you're going for a glowy look, then I would just put like that layer of powder, because then you can, once you wipe this off and put on a little bit of the Maybelline Fit Me on top, then you will have a glowy base. But I'm going to an all-day event and I need full coverage, so I'm gonna put on a thicker layer. Like I said, I'm patting this in. Putting it down into my nose. Everywhere I put the highlighter. So I highlight my nose, so we are going to powder the nose. Highlight up here. I'm gonna bring my highlighter straight up in between my eyebrows, into my forehead. And then we start to get that poreless, very flawless looking base. As you guys can see, like you guys can still see, I have moles on my face, I have little things. You can still see them, like, but this base gives you great base. So I'm putting that in, up, down the cheekbones. And yeah, so before we do the bottom highlighter there, we are going to take the Milani concealer again. This is a cream-based concealer, so we're gonna take this and put this right back into the areas that we kind of took over with the concealer. Okay, y'all, so we just finished the other side of the cheeks. So I'm gonna put a thick layer of baking onto my, still powdering. So we are going to powder our chin. This is a very detailed tutorial. We're going to dab the powder into our chin, dab the powder into on our nose heavy, y'all, because I be sweating on my nose. So I'm gonna put a thick layer of baking onto my T-zone. The bacon and T-zone top. Okay, so we're still highlighting. We're gonna go around the lips. Now we're gonna add blush. Normally I would add a blush a couple steps before, but it don't really make a difference. I'm gonna take this brush, Real Techniques brush, in the shade 049. This was like a specialty brush, I don't know. So today I'm wearing a pink dress. So this shade right here, mixed with this one, mixed with this one. And I'm just gonna smile. Now we're gonna blush. For me, I can clearly see the apples of my cheek. Apple of my cheek here, apple of my cheek here. So I'm just gonna blush those two areas. So I'm just gonna dab, 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 dab. Turn the brush as you're dabbing. Dab it off. And then as you're putting it on, dab, 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 dab. Right? And then rotate it. I accidentally dab and put this on this side 2 times. So I have to do this side 2 times too, just so it can be even. And this tutorial is taking a long time because I'm going step by step, showing you guys in real time. But as we're doing this day, this routine probably takes like 15 minutes. So I'm going to take this big fluffy brush, Eco Sanctuary from the same set, and I'm just going to use that to blend out the excess powder on my under eyes. Or actually on my whole face right there. I blend in a circular motion. And then to finish off the last 2 steps, which step number 1 is taking this Maybelline Fit Me powder and this e.l.f. powder brush. This is my favorite brush for powder, y'all. It is so dense and it does not leave excess powder on your face. I love it. That's the final step. And I'm just going to swipe my under eyes. Make sure everything is blended. And I'm going to swipe my whole face. And blend everything, y'all. Blend. Because that's the name of the game. Blend it into the hairline, blend the contour into the highlighter, blend my chin in, blend my nose, and yes. I'm gonna go on to nose contour. I want to do a nose contour on my face, but I feel like my nose is looking really flat today. I don't know. So I'm gonna do a select contour on my nose. This is another angled brush from the set, and this is typically I think this is the eyeliner brush. Let's use it for nose contour. Should we do a button nose, y'all? Should we do a button nose? Okay, so now we're gonna take this e.l.f. brush, this complexion duo e.l.f. brush, and take the skinny side to blend in this contour. I'm staying in a hotel right now, so if you guys hear any banging, that is the other guest in the hotel. So I'm gonna take some more of this light shade in a little bit of that one and use that to continue. This brush is doing a better job. Blend, blend, blend. Up and down. Up and down. And yes. Contour is done. But y'all, so when you finish your makeup, if you ever see pieces that you don't like, you can always fix it. Don't ever worry about it. One piece that I don't like is right here. I feel like it's not giving. So I'm gonna add some highlighter to be a camouflage. So the areas I don't like it. And then blend. I love after the concealer is done because then you can just blend so easy. And then move this side in. And we're gonna do the nose. And then set it off with some concealer on that nose because that was like too shiny. And then we're gonna set it off with this Super Setter Pore Professionals, and I love this stuff. This really sets all the makeup together, and it gets rid of the powdery look. And yeah, I'll let this dry. I'll be back. Hi y'all, so I just finished my glam and I really like the way it turned out. So if you guys have any questions or you really like this tutorial, please like, comment your questions, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Love you always. Bye.